Here we go. So, kia ora tātou. Cooper and I are going to share this. We both work at 298 and we'll explain more about that as we go along. But first of all, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko Lion Rock Tokomanga, ko Lion Hong Kong Harbour, Tokoawa, ko Hong Kong China Rahau, ko Rangatahi Tokomahi, ko Bagshaw Tokowhānau North of England, ko Dean Tokowhānau South of England, ko Otatahi, aho, kia ora tātou, nō reira, tēnā koutou. So we're going to try and cover a little bit about brain development and brain identity. We're going to talk a little bit about youth one-stop shops, and then Cooper's going to really talk about how a little bit about how Rebecca's trans-psychological package of care, and I really hope she'll speak to the slides, but we'll see how we go, and a little bit about how the peer support model works at 298. So starting off with brain development, a lot of you may have seen these MRI scans before, but this is an average age 5 brain, if you like, MRI scan of a brain, and average age 20 to 25. And as you can see, a lot of difference in the colour, which is basically, for those of you who haven't come across these slides before, myelin sheath, which really indicates wires becoming live, because they need to be lined by myelin, and the myelin makes the messages go down much faster and the complexity much more. So lots of consequences for cognitive development, including ability to future think, ability to abstract think and think about thinking, and the ability to think more complexly, which is really important when you think about consent. And totally Afi Samantha's comments there about informed consent, because it does get tricky, because you have to have that capacity to consent. And I guess changing your body is quite a long-term, quite complex, quite abstract concept. So just to make a note though, that this blueness, if you like, really only grows about average age 15. And so there's a lot of brain development to happen before even the age of consent, never mind capacity to consent. So just to make a note of that, that's quite important. But I don't know, I put this in because I've been coming across lots of people who haven't really ever heard of theory of mind. And I think this is important really because so many young people that we come across actually really kind of, when they think about it, realize that they have felt different since the age of about 3 or 4. And the age of about 3 or 4 is when you develop theory of mind. And I put the piggy bank there because the classic experiment to demonstrate theory of mind, which really, there's been loads of experiments, but this is the one I remember most. And what happens is that when a child is about 2, 3, 4, they're given a piggy bank and asked what's in the piggy bank. And they all say, of course, money, because everybody knows you put money in a piggy bank. And then in front of the child, they empty out the coins and they fill it with M&Ms. And then they say, what's in the piggy bank? And the child goes, oh, M&Ms, of course. And then they say, okay, that's great. If your friend comes in the room now, what will they think is in the piggy bank? And the child says, money, if they have theory of mind, which means that they recognize that other people think differently from them. If they haven't got to that yet, they say M&Ms, because they just assume everyone thinks the same as them. So this is kind of happening over a period of time. And some people feel that maybe this is linked with that ability to separate yourself from other people and therefore realize that other people are different from you and you're different from them. And I guess that's the first step for identity. And I put this slide in because, and Cooper's going to join me in terms of how you define identity, but I really wanted to emphasize the fact that actually a lot of identity you cannot really see. And really, it's how you present yourself and how you appear. And that's the sad thing, I guess, about human beings. We often judge each other by our appearance instead of actually the whole huge iceberg that's underneath. Cooper, did you want to speak to this a bit more?
Yeah, kia ora. I'll just really quickly introduce myself. Tēnā koutou katoa. I don't have my a bit nervous with te reo and a large audience that I cannot see. So apologies if I get any pronunciation wrong. Yeah, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko hatu wha karikari ka tamatia pokai whenua te moanga. Ko waimakareri te awa. Ko kuzo toku waka. Ko pakiha toku iwi. No otatahi ahau. Ko sides toku whānau. Ko Brent toku papa. Ko Rachel toku mama. Ko kupo toku ingoa. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Atamari I whakapapa back to, I'm born here in Otatahi, and I whakapapa back to Scotland, Ireland, England, Germany, Denmark, and a little bit in Croatia. But I'm yet to know a bit more about that. I'm transmasculine non-binary, and my pronouns are ia, they, and them. And yeah, so identity. Yeah, so you get your physical appearance and your physical attributes, and you've got that at the top. So that can be things like your skin color or your height, but that can also be things like your physical abilities as well. Some which you can see, some which you can't. And then we've got things that like activities that are important and activities that are enjoyed. And that's kind of the parts of your community, right? So there's the parts of your community who you're kind of obligated to be part of. And that's the important part. So you've got schools, and I don't know what else Sue had in there in her mind, but I'm also thinking as a child, I was obligated to be part of my church. And I know my friends in whānau were obligated to be parts of their other, some other places like kapahaka groups that, now that they're older, they're really keen on being involved in, but when they were younger, not so much. And then activities that enjoy, that could be something like sports and other recreation stuff, such as board games or other things like that. And then you get to values and principles and beliefs, ethnicity, sexuality, gender, and all of that stuff, like the sexuality, values, gender, culture, that stuff is all the stuff that you can't see. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. And then there's also personality and temperament, which, that stuff kind of comes to the surface a bit more, but then that's affected by stuff that you can't see and can't understand. And then as well as affected by messages from adults in your life, which is whānau, teachers, coaches, and professionals, and then your peers, so friends, also whānau, media, people that you look up to, so that could be anyone really, and then social media, which is a mix of everyone, people being fake, being real, as well as strangers who could just pop into your DMs and say anything.
So tons of effects, tons of people, and complicated messages from all over the place that you're both born with and develop. And I love actually talking to young people when they first present. And the younger they are, I ask everybody, what do you think identity is? And it's great, the contrast between the 13-year-olds, and we don't see people much younger than that, but I know other people see people way younger, it's really fascinating to see how that concept of identity grows over time. And then when we're seeing people for informed consent when they're about 20, they have so much more complex views on all this. So fascinating the way the brain develops. But New Zealand was the first country in the world actually to have a youth development strategy. It didn't really include identity, and it didn't really definitely include gender stuff. Then in 2019, Arataohi did a hikoi around the whole motu to look at how the youth development strategy should be revised and improved and made more relevant to Te Tiriti. So what we all came up with was this whole concept of Māori, the spirit that you're born with, the whole identity, the who you are inside. And young people come with their whakapapa in terms of who they're descending from and their tupuna. And then the hononga is that kind of ability to connect with others and form those relationships. And all within Te Ao, their own world, whether it be a world of Somalian culture or Māori culture or European culture. And that's what they come with. And then we, as people working around them, can use various ways of doing that. And so some of them are whanaungatanga, so obviously making sure you do that, greeting strong relationships and strengths-based ones. And then the manakitanga, generosity of working with young people, giving of your time, yourself, and your ability to connect with them. And then whaiwahitanga, really important to have that participation so that young people not only participate in decisions about themselves, but contribute, and that contribution is valued. And it's all based on mataranga, the kind of wisdom that everybody has gathered during their journeys. We were going to make a breakout room now, but I'm not quite sure if there's time in terms of allowing time for questions. So I'm just wondering, I'm going to stop sharing, but in a minute. So I'm just wondering if you could put in the chat what your ideas of working in a strengths-based way means, both with gender diverse people, whatever age they are, with young people, yeah, and with your colleagues, with your co-professionals. What does working in a strengths-based way mean? And I'm going to stop sharing, and if you could just tap away into your chat. We want to just make this a bit interactive and back from you.
I've just had a wee message from Francis. I don't know why I said we, it's just a message, asking if we'd like for her to make breakout rooms. Francis, I don't know what we're doing
if
for
there's time. That would be awesome, Francis.
If you think there's time, we're probably about halfway through, do you think?
Yeah, so maybe if there's time, let's do 5 minutes of breakout rooms.
Yeah.
It's really nice to meet others in a more personal environment than just the big screen. But be thinking, what do you think strengths-based working means, especially with gender diverse people?
Yeah, so maybe 2 breakout rooms, maybe one with Sue, one with me.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. And just confirming we've got till 10:30 for this session, so plenty of time.
Cool. We want to make sure there's time for questions too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, we're doing good.
I especially got my RAP t-shirt on, which stands for Respect All People.
Nice.